So we all know that Anders Carlson struggled in a big way in his first season as a kicker in Green Bay, taking over for Mason Crosby, being drafted in the 6th round of the 2023 NFL Draft. And he was one of the worst kickers stat-wise in the NFL this season. He was 25th in field goal percentage at 80%, 80.6%. That's with kickers who at least had 10 attempts. He was 32nd in the NFL on 40 to 49-yard kicks, 4 of 9, 44.4%. And he was 31st in the NFL in extra points, 40 of 46 at 80.6%. So it was not a good season, and it ended off poorly with him missing a 41-yarder. That was a pretty crucial moment in the game versus the 49ers. And so the Packers have decided to come in and sign a new kicker. Here's the information, then I'll give my thoughts on whether I think this is a good addition or if they should do something else. Here's from Bill Huber of Sports Illustrated. Better late than never, perhaps, but the Green Bay Packers will have a kicking combination. According to a source, they have signed former Georgia standout Jack Podlesny to challenge Anders Carlson. During his senior season with the Bulldogs, Podlesny was named SEC Special Teams Player of the Year after making 26 of 31 field goal attempts and 73 of 74 point-after tries. 2 of the missed field goals came in the playoff victory over Ohio State. About 2/3 of his kickoffs resulted in touchbacks. It was Podlesny, not Carlson, who was the first-team All-SEC kicker. And I pulled up his stats, and if you just, at face value, they look pretty good. Here is Podlesny's stats. I'll throw them up on one side of the screen, and then I will throw up Anders Carlson's stats from college on the other hand. So first off, Podlesny, if that's how you say his name, 82.2% field goal percentage in college. Anders, 71.8%. And in all 3 seasons, he was pretty consistent, 81.3%, 80.1%, 83.9%. You look at Anders Carlson years, he was incredibly inconsistent, flying up and down. 60% his first year, 72% his second year, 90.9% his third year, 66.7% his fourth year, and 70.6% his fifth year. So the difference between these two guys, at least in college, Podlesny was pretty consistent, and Anders Carlson was not consistent. I know he dealt with some injuries, but still very up and down for Anders Carlson, which sort of translated to his first season in the NFL. Here's the only issue I have with this new signing. Here's from Bill Huber, same article. In 3 seasons, he made 82.4% of his field goals, though it was only 56.5% from 40-plus yards. To cap his freshman year, he booted a 53-yard field goal to beat Cincinnati in the Peach Bowl. So with that stat being true, that must mean that lots of these kicks were from less than 40 yards, and kicking 40-plus yards, 56.5%. It's pretty similar to Anders Carlson. And if we look at, I was looking up some stats of NFL kickers from this season, and 25 NFL kickers this season made 75% of their field goals from 40 to 49 yards. Anders was at, 44.4%. So 75%, 40 to 49 yards, that's 25 kickers in the NFL. So most kickers in the NFL can kick 40 to 49 field goals at a 75% rate. 4 guys were tied at 16th in the NFL at 80%. So your average NFL kicker makes 40 to 49-yard field goals at 80%. And as I said, Anders Carlson was at 44.4%, so very drastic there. And Podlesny from 40+, so it's not just 40 to 49, was at 56.5%. So 2 kickers who have not been consistent when it comes to making field goals of 40-plus yards. And so, while I understand the Packers' decision to draft Anders Carlson, Rich Bisaccia had a relationship with his brother, Daniel Carlson, who struggled a little bit early in his career and then became a pretty solid kicker. They thought that they could do the same thing with Anders Carlson. And so, while of course you can't, I think, throw out the possibility that Anders could one day maybe take that next step forward, if you look at his college career, he was incredibly inconsistent. And so I'm just not sold on him taking that next step forward, even though technically it is a possibility. And I do think the Packers will probably continue to give him some more chances, considering they use a draft pick on him to be the kicker in Green Bay. I would not be shocked if he is kicking once the season starts. But here's the thing. If you look at free agent kickers right now, just curious, what free agent kickers are going to be available. And here are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. These all 6 kickers here have made over 88% of their field goals this past year, and they will all be available. Depends, of course, on if their team decides to keep them. So some of these guys could be re-signed by their team, but there's lots of veteran kickers here available. Some of these guys a little old. You may not want to sign them, like Nick Folk, 39 years old. But Fairbairn, 29. Cameron Dicker, 23. You got Chase McLaughlin, 27.8. Will Lutz, 29.5. So if any of those guys is available, I think it would be an upgrade over Anders Carlson and the new kicker we just signed here from Georgia. And so I really think it comes down to, for the Packers, do they believe that Anders Carlson has a chance at improving? I think they would say yes. They've consistently talked about how, as a rookie kicker, it takes time to grow and develop. And the only thing I worry about is because he was inconsistent in college. And for me, like, I understand where if you're an edge rusher or things like that, you have to develop and grow in the NFL. But in my opinion, kicking is kicking. You know, you're kicking the same as you are in college, a 45-yard field goal, as you are in the NFL if it's a 45-yard field goal. And so my only worry is Anders was so inconsistent in college, and he was inconsistent his first year. So why do the Packers think he may all of a sudden become a more consistent kicker? And even if you look at Mason Crosby early in his career, he definitely improved as time went on. But I was looking up some of his stats, and Mason was only below 71% on 40 to 49-yard field goals once in his career in 2021 at 50%. But he has a career 40 to 49-yard field goal average of 76.7%. And so I'm just saying that because the fact that Anders in his first season was really struggling with 40-yard field goals, that just makes me worried, because most kickers in the NFL make their 40-yard field goals at least, a 75% rate. So the fact that he was 30% below that makes me nervous. We'll see next season, because I honestly do believe my prediction would be the Packers stick with him going into next season. And I think that if he struggles midway through the season, near the end, maybe at that point they bring someone else in. But I think they're going to give him another chance. And if he can improve in that category, then awesome. But what we've seen so far, I don't think it's going to cut it. And I hope he improves. But as I said, I'm just not so sure that's going to happen. So while this new signing, he was more consistent overall, I do worry about his consistency at making 40-plus yard field goals. And as I said, I think the best decision could be to see if one of these potential free agent kickers would be wanting to come in here to Green Bay, because kickers are important. And I understand that some kickers take time to develop and grow, and maybe you want to give Anders that time. I just don't know if that's the best decision for a team that's going to be competitive and that, needs a kicker that you sort of have some more confidence in going into the future in the playoffs, things like that. But that is all for this one. If you want more Packers content, Packers news, feel free to subscribe down below. I'll see you guys next time.